Hello, I'm Mark Douglas with the See Within You Astrology and Psychosynthesis Coaching. I just want to give you a quick rundown of the Huber charts and the Huber kind of quick process. This isn't a full overview. It's just meant to give you a little bit of a taste if you're coming into a consultation or out of curiosity. The five main layers we use in a chart interpretation, just to give you a bit of a framework, and which can help you before you even arrive here to speed up time in your understanding, or if you need to just jog your memory as well. I have this energy curve, I should mention, on the outside of the chart. Normally it is turned off, so I can start there, but I will turn it on because I think it actually makes things a little bit easier to understand. So here is just a standard birth chart. Those coming into it for the first time, you'll see that it's very colorful. If you're a traditional astrologer or a modern astrologer, please look away now. This is a well-researched system of astrology, but it is different. And at the same time, it's not really that different. But it's a process with the five layers is probably foreign to you. So please do me the favor and just turn your head away for a few moments. What we do is start off with a chart. I'm going to break down these five main layers for you. So, number one, this white center in the middle represents your soul, the atman, or that divine spark within you. Use whatever name, language you're comfortable with. The reason we don't draw any lines through it is because it's both timeless, indescribable, wasn't born, can never die, that type of thing. That's important because there's an expression that's trying to come out from there and light up and work its way to the environment, do what it needs to do. That's where we enter into the second layer of the chart, which is this colorful aspect structure. This is Muhammad Ali's chart, and really we should turn on our imagination and our intuition as well for this. We have our technical, our thinking, our rational brain that we'll be able to use. There's a lot of advanced techniques combining traditional and modern systems into the Huber approach. But for now, we can kind of just use our imagination, intuition, and look at what I usually have clients do is try to form an image of their head without racing off to the ascendant or looking at signs or the planets, just to kind of get an image of their head of what is potentially emerging. More importantly, though, when we're looking at this aspect structure is understanding that this is actually the engine room or the psyche, the workable, conscious parts of us that are unconscious within the mind, that if we can begin to understand this aspect structure, it provides a deeper esoteric level to the chart before we get into the ascendant or signs and planets, okay? Therefore, if it's the engine room, we get to look at certain qualities. The color, for example, red is doing energy, blue is a state of being and kind of relaxed, fixed principles, and green is conscious, raising, awareness building. The balance of those and the ratios of them are very important. So too much red is too much doing energy, too much blue is too much kind of state of being, maybe a relaxed modality, and too much green is conscious raising, but can be emphasized in oversensitivity and things of this nature. We then look at the shaping, the direction, the coherence. Are the lines connected? Are they not? There's an awful lot to really work through in here, but it's more accurate, I find, at that base level of motivation to give us a real depth awareness of what our needs are. When we can understand our needs and motivations within this structure, we have a lot we can consciously work with. So that's the second layer, and I would say more on that. I would love to, I've actually been in a workshop with, we spent 6 hours just on this layer alone. Didn't even get into the planets or the signs or the houses. Okay, so if we move right along to the third layer, you'll recognize what we call these as planets. You'll see, obviously, the moon. We call the moon a planet. It's just what we do. And you'll recognize this is the sun. So obviously Muhammad Ali was a Capricorn. There's the sign for Capricorn. All the other symbols, Mercury. There's Venus, Mars, Saturn, Uranus, Jupiter, Pluto, the North Node, and Neptune. So all those planets are being lit up by this aspect structure I spoke about. So that's very important. The aspect structure is moving itself out, and it's going to use these planets as psychological drives, if you will. Mercury, our ability to communicate. Mars, that kind of motor driving forward, yang principle. So on and so forth. The aspects and the qualities that light up these planets are of huge significance. Next off into the third layer. The third layer are the signs. I would keep this simple. And for example, a planet, in this case Pluto, it's transpersonal will, or, in this case, moon. The moon being our feeling self, our emotional kind of body, inner child. When it moves out to this fourth layer, the signs represent kind of a costume they put on. So it's not just a moon. It's not just a moon with these aspects going to it. It's a moon in Aquarius. And that will take on a different flavor, just like an actor on a stage would put on a cloak if it was putting on, your moon's emotions were putting on a warlord costume versus maybe a clown outfit, right? Two different things. That's a way of looking at the signs. They hold a lot of inherited energy, and they flavor, color, costume, eyes the planets in that level. There's more to it than that, but I would keep it. I would think like that because anything from this center point outward is more close and directly important to us. As we get out here, it's less ours and more our response to the environment. So I'll get into that. The last layer out are the houses and the house systems. This is extremely important from a bio kind of social, psychological point of view. Our expression, our self, our psyche meets the real world at this layer. So I'm going to turn on that energy curve now. And if we can kind of see this expression from the center of the core, blasting its way, manifesting its way outward into the world on a daily, constant basis. Your birth chart is something you live with, you grow with, you learn it, you become more aware of it, and you can consciously work with it once you are more familiar with it. The houses, therefore, express areas of life, and quickly then, this is the first house. It represents everything about you, and, at a very ego level, not at a bad ego level. It can be, but it's more about your primary needs. Second house deals with your personal possessions, self-worth. Third house is communication and early learning. I should point out, as I'm going through these, every house has a polarity. So this house here is the first house, all about you. The opposite to that is called the seventh house, which deals with relationships. Others. Makes sense, right? Me versus others. Second house, your money. Therefore, the eighth house, other people's money, formal society, that type of thing. The third house, early learning, communicating. The opposite to that would be the ninth house, which would be higher learning, life philosophy, beyond just the school book, textbook type of learning. Fourth house is your roots, family, that type of thing. A moon, planets down here can resolve a lot of action that is focused really around the home and roots and traditions. So the opposite to that is where we stand up in the world. This MC here, our vocation, our standing, that type of thing. The fifth house is creativity and children and that whole process. It's also the common collective of unchosen friends. The opposite to that would be your deep moralities, your chosen groups who you want to hang out with, things of that nature. So specialized interest groups, areas, and that type of thing. The sixth house deals with health and service, and we can absolutely put too much service in and risk getting sick as well. The opposite to that is this enigmatic 12th house, where we can introvert ourselves, be more secluded. We want to withdraw. We have everything we need. We don't need anything from the environment. So the 12th house is a very deep processing, teleological, ontological area of the chart. Once it's understood better, it can cause a lot of confusion for a lot of people, but the 12th house contains a lot of wisdom in it. So this is called, this axis here, the 6th and the 12th axis, is therefore called the existence axis, where I exist in service, where I exist on my own terms, if that makes any sense. As I mentioned, then we've kind of moved away around the chart. Just want to give you a quick idea. What that means then is moving from the 5 layers out from the center. The aspect structure has an internal motivation instead of needs. The planets are trying to express that need, and it's doing so in various areas of these houses, which are areas of life. There's a boatload more to it there in terms of planetary strength and combinations of how they're able to express themselves, and you name it. But from that basis, what we're trying to do is respect and understand the deep needs, so that we're not fighting against ourselves too much. We're learning about ourselves, trying to form synthesis, rather than just say, well, I've got a bad moon or an awkward Saturn. We want to actually understand the deep needs of these planets and then come up with proactive mindsets and practical means to kind of meet the deep needs. Because when we do that, we're kind of alchemically aligning with the chart. We're working it. We're consciously embracing those qualities. There's strengths everywhere. In psychosynthesis, it's very important that no parts are rejected. There's strengths everywhere. That's not being nice or serving up platitudes. It's consciously working really at this kind of deep resonant level with our charts, and having a deep respect for what the intentions for this lifetime are meant to be. So we'll talk about the barriers and the struggles, because those are real as also, but also finding conscious, healthy ways, skillful ways, and wise ways to kind of allow the expression of our charts to carry ourselves forward, to put a bigger smile on our face, and live life to the best that's possible with the free will we're given. This is the fated chart we're given. This chart isn't going to be another chart. It's simply this. So we're limited by the kind of container we're given, but we're given free will also to develop it the best of our potential. So I hope that makes a bit of sense. It's the 5 layers, and we want to consciously work with it.